Early in the morning, as the first rays of sunlight peeked through the bamboo grove, Tuna woke up. She picked up her familiar watering can and slowly walked to the small vegetable garden behind the house. Each row of cabbage and lettuce still held glistening dewdrops like tiny crystal beads. Tuna bent down and gently watered the leaves. The soft sound of the flowing water, mingled with the early morning birdsong, soothed her heart. But then, in that quiet moment, Alex's image suddenly appeared in her mind. His warm smile, his gentle gaze whenever he looked at her, all of it made Tuna's heart flutter slightly. She paused for a moment, looking towards the gradually brightening sky. Suddenly, an idea flashed through her mind, causing her to let out a soft, "Ah." Today was White Valentine's Day. Tuna blinked, then chuckled softly. For some reason, just thinking about it made her heart beat a little faster. Maybe I should surprise Alex? She wondered to herself. The thought warmed her face, as if the morning sun were touching her cheek. Tuna imagined Alex's reaction if he received a surprise gift from her. Perhaps he would be surprised, then smile brightly as always. She continued watering the vegetables, but her mind wandered elsewhere. Small plans formed in her head. A handmade gift, a sweet message, or simply a moment together this afternoon. Thinking of that, Tuna's heart felt unusually light and warm, like the garden in the early morning sun embracing it. After watering the last row of vegetables, Tuna put down the watering can, still feeling lightheaded from the thought that had just crossed her mind. She hurried inside, dried her hands, and picked up her phone. Her heart pounded as if she were holding a little secret. Tuna opened the reservation app and found a cozy restaurant that Alex had mentioned he liked. Seeing that there were still evening slots available, she didn't hesitate to make a reservation. The screen displayed a confirmation message, and Tuna smiled softly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Just thinking about Alex's surprised face tonight was enough to make her whole day special. Meanwhile, in a corner of the bustling city, Alex had arrived at the office quite early. The office was brightly lit, the clicking of keyboards mingling with the steady hum of the printer. On his desk lay a stack of unfinished documents, and the computer screen displayed numbers and daily plans. Alex focused intently on the screen, his fingers still typing rapidly, but his mind occasionally wandered. Each time he paused for a few seconds, he unconsciously thought of Tuna. For some reason he felt a strange sense of anticipation this morning, as if something special was about to happen. He smiled softly to himself and continued working. The clock on the wall ticked away the minutes, and Alex tried even harder to concentrate. He wanted to finish everything quickly and efficiently so he could leave the office a little earlier in the afternoon. A fleeting image of Tuna standing in the small garden flashed through his mind, her hair gently swaying in the breeze, her familiar, gentle smile. Just thinking about seeing her later, about hearing her tell him little stories about her day, made Alex feel much less stressed about his work. He took a deep breath and continued to tackle each task decisively. For Alex, completing today's work was not only a responsibility, but also the shortest path to quickly returning to Tuna's side. The afternoon dragged on slowly, but Tuna's heart was filled with indescribable emotions. She picked up her phone several times, then put it down again, as if even the slightest action could stir her heart. Finally, she took a deep breath and dialed Alex's number. The phone rang for a few short seconds, but to Tuna it felt like an eternity. When his familiar voice answered, a warm feeling instantly spread through her chest. "Tuna?" She tried to keep her voice calm, though a small joy was sparkling inside her. "Tonight? Could you have dinner with me?" A brief silence followed, then Alex immediately agreed. In that moment, Tuna felt her heart lighten slightly, yet also beat a little faster. The room suddenly fell silent, but that silence was brimming with emotion. She opened the wardrobe, her hand running over each neatly hung dress. Finally, her gaze settled on a soft, cream-colored dress. The fabric was smooth, simple yet sophisticated. Alex had once said she looked very gentle in this color. She arrived at the restaurant well before the scheduled time. The table was still empty, and that made nhat feel she could place something, small but sincere, there. She brought a small bouquet of roses. The flowers were simple, yet they evoked a sense of purity and gentleness. She slowly arranged each stem in the glass vase in the center of the table. Her hands moved very lightly, very slowly, as if afraid of losing the emotion she felt inside. Each time she adjusted a stem, she stepped back to look at it, then gently rotated it a little to make them look more harmonious. When the arrangement was complete, nhat suddenly felt a warmth in her heart. Not because it was perfect, but because she knew she had prepared it for Alex. She adjusted her napkin, straightened her glass, and sat down. Outside the window, the city lights began to come on. Cars passed by, their light gliding across the window pane, but nhat almost didn't notice any of it. Only one image occupied her mind. The restaurant door opened, and Alex walked in. She imagined his eyes when he saw this table, the small vase, and her sitting there waiting. Perhaps he would be surprised. Perhaps he would smile. Just thinking about that moment, nhat felt her heart soften, warm, as if embraced by something very gentle. She gently touched the white petals in the vase, taking a deep breath. In that moment of waiting, nhat realized something very simple. Sometimes happiness isn't about grand things, but simply the feeling of preparing a special evening for the person she always thought of. The restaurant door creaked open, letting in a cool evening breeze. nhat instinctively looked up. In that instant, as her eyes met the familiar figure who had just entered, her heart skipped a beat. Alex had arrived. He stood near the door for a few seconds, his gaze sweeping across the room as if searching. When he saw nhat seated at a table by the window, before a small, delicate white vase, his face instantly brightened. A slow smile spread across his lips, a smile that was both surprised and warm. He walked closer. Each step seemed to increase the nervousness in her heart. When he stopped before the table, his eyes scanned the surroundings. The napkins neatly arranged, the two glasses reflecting the soft yellow light, and the white vase emitting a gentle fragrance. "Did you prepare all of this?" Alex asked, softly. His voice lowered, as if he were trying to control a rising emotion. nhat only nodded slightly, a very faint smile on her face. But there was something warm and sincere in her eyes that Alex couldn't take his eyes off. A little nervousness returned to her heart. nhat reached into the small bag beside her chair and took out a box carefully wrapped in cream-colored paper. The small bow was neatly tied, probably adjusted several times before she brought it. She placed the box on the table and gently pushed it towards Alex. "White Valentine's Day. I wanted to give this to you." Alex was truly surprised. For a moment, he said nothing, only looking at the box and then back at nhat. He opened the box. Small chocolates were neatly arranged inside. The sweet scent of cocoa wafted gently through the air. Alex let out a soft sigh, then chuckled softly. But that laugh was full of emotion. "nhat, I didn't think I'd receive a gift today." His gaze deepened, becoming warmer. In that look, there was gratitude, appreciation, and unspoken affection. He reached out and took nhat's hand from the table. Her hand was slightly cold from nervousness, but in his, it gradually warmed. nhat felt her heart race, yet at the same time she felt a profound sense of peace. Alex stood up and walked over to nhat. He leaned down gently and placed a tender kiss on her forehead. The kiss was slow, as if he wanted to hold on to this moment for as long as possible. nhat gently closed her eyes. She felt his warmth, the tenderness in his every gesture. A soft feeling of happiness spread through her chest. The warm yellow light shone down on the small dining table, reflecting off the white vase and the opened box of chocolates. The surrounding space was still filled with the sounds of conversation and clinking glasses. But for Tuna and Alex, it all seemed to have faded into the distance.